American author E.B. White wrote these words: "I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day." But I would suggest that we do not need to make the planning of a day so complicated. I wonder if, in fact, a perfect day might include both improving the day and enjoying the day, sometimes at the same time. Maybe when we do things together for the sake of the world. This question of balance is an important theme now as much as ever. Our world keeps finding itself in never-before places. And I have noticed an uptick in what we might call cranky behavior. People demanding one thing or another of each other and of the world. A couple years ago, in conversations with colleagues as we were emerging from the pandemic, people were noting how hard things seemed to be, even as things seemed to be getting better, seeming. It's possible, I think, that it was this seeming that was part of the problem. We'd been patient for so long. We'd done the right thing for so long. We were waiting for that new normal. I believe we have long since acknowledged that the old normal is not coming back, but we thought, could we at least have a new normal? Apparently not then, and apparently not now. This mythical new norm seems a bit elusive. And what would that new norm look like if and when it came? What would it look like for you? What would you like normal to be? Will it have more justice, more inclusion, more peace, more liberating love? For some, it seems that now is when we must make that happen. And I do think we've seen many opportunities to move the ball forward, if you will excuse a football reference mixed with my volleyball references. In some circles, things like the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, the highlighting of economic disparities that came from the pandemic, are increasing awareness of our diverse human conditions. These were propelling many of our justice movements forward. And yet, even if we hadn't hit some of the roadblocks we've recently hit, we haven't been given a magic wand, and these things take time. These things take time. And we can demand that everything be perfect right now. Or we can prepare ourselves for the continuing journey that a more perfect union has always required. I appreciate the sentiments of Emma Goldman, who is often quoted as saying, "If I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution." In her 1931 autobiography, Living My Life, she tells the story that prompted that paraphrase. She writes, "At the dances, I was one of the most untiring and gayest. One evening, a cousin of Sasha, a young boy, took me aside. With a grave face, as if he were about to announce the death of a dear comrade, he whispered to me that it did not behoove an agitator to dance. Certainly not with such reckless abandon, anyway. It was undignified for me, who was on the way to becoming such a force in the anarchist movement. My frivolity would only hurt the cause." I grew furious at this impotent interference of the boy. I told him to mind his own business. I was tired of having the cause constantly thrown into my face. I did not believe a cause that stood for a beautiful ideal, for anarchism, for release and freedom from conventions and prejudice, should demand the denial of life and joy. I insisted that our cause could not expect me to become a nun, and our movement could not be turned into a cloister. If it meant that, I did not want it. I want freedom, the right to self-expression, everybody's right to beautiful and radiant things. Anarchism meant that to me, and I would live it in spite of the whole world, prisons, persecution, everything. Yes, in spite of the condemnation of my own comrades, I would live my beautiful ideal." End quote. Now, I am not an anarchist, But I do appreciate Goldman's determination and commitment to experiencing life's beautiful and radiant things, even while being committed to bringing more beautiful and radiant things to more people and more peace and justice to the world. The young boy who demanded that Emma not dance did not understand the long haul. We can and we must commit ourselves to go the distance. And it is also true that we cannot and must not try to go all in one go. The North Star can help us know the direction we want to go, but if we demand that we arrive at the North Star tomorrow, we will have missed some important opportunities to achieve what is possible in our time and our place. One of the challenges, of course, is that there's no one clear definition of what's possible in our time and our place. Another challenge is that because of our different identities and life experiences, we don't all share the same urgency or set priorities in the same way. These challenges are inevitable, and we as humans have different experiences. And once we see that, we can find some ways to maybe mitigate some of these challenges, even if we can't completely eliminate them. So I'd like to suggest 3 things that we can try when we find that others are proposing policies or actions with which we are uncomfortable. I'd like you to consider them, adapt them, or ignore them as you choose. First, we can ask, are we going in the same direction? Are we following the same North Star? Is it just that we have different ideas about how to get there? Or maybe that we travel at different speeds? If we find we're going in the same way, just differently, I want to be careful not to tear others down. Maybe the cause, whatever our cause is, can be served by more than one approach. I would like to suggest that we save our fierce opposition for those trying to move us in the opposite direction, and that we be careful about how we fight amongst ourselves. So the first thing that might help us mitigate the challenges of our work to improve the world is asking, are we at least going in the same direction? The second thing we can do is acknowledge our privilege. Now, some people wonder why we keep talking about privilege, but I have found that the practice of acknowledging my privilege allows me to see why I might not have the same urgency as someone else or set my priorities in the same way. I want a just world, yet if things take a little longer in some areas, I have to admit it doesn't impact my life as directly as it impacts some others. Being honest about this helps me be less judgy of some of the demands I hear, and this in turn reduces my guilt and denial and anxiety. And that's a good thing, because all that energy that I was using for anxiety and denial and guilt can be better channeled. And looking at this also helps me understand people who don't have the same urgency as me in the areas where I'm most impacted. So to lessen the challenge that come from our differing approaches to improving the world, we can first see if we are going in the same direction, and then we consider our various privileges that come from our different identities, lived experiences, and our impact, our priorities. Then it's time to play volleyball. I mean, we've established that we're on the same team. We've acknowledged that we have different perspectives. If I'm a short, inexperienced player and you are the star of the team, we have different roles. As does that person in the bleacher, perhaps unable to play today, but who can cheer the team on nonetheless. So the question comes in our quest to improve the world, how can I set you up for success? How can you set me up? I've had in the past leadership roles in the community. I've had times of activism, but more recently I've found that in some of today's movement, I am not the right person to be the leader. I found this a little confusing for a while. I know other longtime activists who are also trying to find their place in today's world, but then I remembered volleyball, and I realized that these days, Sometimes it's not my time to be on the front lines, but rather to be in a supportive role. There isn't one easy answer to how we know what to do when, but these questions about direction and privilege can help us decide in each moment. For example, there are times today when I know I can't keep up with the activism and leadership of the young, impassioned queer person of color who's demanding change. We're going in the same direction, and I understand their passion. So this is my time to set them up so that they can spike that ball and accomplish things I never would. There are so many ways we can do that setup. We can amplify their words. We can financially support the cause, whatever the cause is for you. We can point these new activists toward resources or introduce them to people who have influence and power and can be helpful. I can fund their trip to DC so that I don't have to be out on the mall for a protest in January. I can feed them. We can offer them a place to sleep. We can encourage them to dance. I can listen to their ideas and perspectives and try to use the preferred pronouns even when it's hard and I don't completely understand. I'm sure that each of you can add to this list. Sometimes it's your time to spike the ball. Sometimes it's your turn to do the setup. We need one another. So there you have it. Life is volleyball. Call out when you got it. Step back when others do. We are so many of us going in the same direction. We move at different speeds and in our own unique ways, but we are on the same team. So let's set each other up and let's stay in the game for the long run. And along the way, let's not forget to dance. Will you join me for just a moment of reflection? And let's sing again, and if you like, you can dance.